Welcome r/Nuclearrevenge. 5 years of child abuse. A lifetime of hell on earth. He was sexually abused by his stepfather ever since he was 6 and was violated around his 8th year. His biological father died of a work-related accident and his mother married this stepfather that she knew from her hometown a few years after. That fatherly figure soon turned out to be an abusive monster that was oh so eager to put his hands on anything that moves. His mother didn't know of the sexual abuse that he was going through because the son was threatened by death of his mother and him if he says anything. He was in an ever worse situation. After getting bullied and abused, he was completely suicidal. He was debating on just jumping in front of a semi and end it all multiple times, but his mother was the only reason he didn't want to do it and kept pushing on through it all. He started slowly making a few friends that helped him cope a little. On his 10th he was violently molested and was left limping after his father went all out on him. He was forced to go to school a day after and was limping from the pain, unable to sit at all, unable to move, but he endured it and shrugged it off as an accident so that no one finds out what happens. He saw what the man can do. He doesn't want his mother hurt or worse because he told on this monster. Even the bullies stopped making fun of him after seeing that he didn't care anymore about what they did to him, more uninterested in bullying an inanimate object than pity. A few older senior students who were a mix of 16 and 18-year-old caught up to what happened and pulled him aside one day to ask what happened. They all sat down and talked. Although they knew what was happening, they merely asked to confirm what's going on. My friend who told them to not spread it as it means life and death to him, and especially his mother, let out all the information out of pure fear. From about 5 or 6 behemoths towering around him, and years of abuse killing his self-esteem. They were all hellbent on making this man regret his life choices, and make him regret it they did. They stalked him, cornered him and afterwards went completely berserk on him, sodomized him with a multitude of tools, carved child rapist on his back, beat the bejesus out of his testicles to the point where he was quite literally peeing blood, and continued beating him up in the process and afterwards just to really nail the point in. They didn't want him to die, they wanted him to live and suffer from it. He was rushed to the hospital with both his arms broken on multiple points, eye socket collapsed, and eye heavily damaged with no chance of repair. Both his testicles were ruptured and are damaged beyond salvation. His anus was ripped to the size of a 22cm ball, and he lost about 70% of his teeth. There was more, but it will take this whole post just to list all the damage dealt. They caught him at the brink of death from all the bleeding and managed to keep him alive somehow. The next day they told his mom of what happened and what he did to him. She wasn't just filing for divorce, she took everything he ever owned, all the money he made, and afterwards had him put behind bars with a little birdie that told every inmate inside of what he did. Last he heard of him was that he was being used quite literally as the prison soap dispenser while in the pen. He didn't die, but he was left with a gait that would make even hot Kinky Joe jealous, roaming the streets, shunned by everyone, and they still regularly tell people of who he is and what he did to publicly shame him for what he did, losing him any job possible and barred from many establishments, and was regularly stoned, hissed at and yelled at to go away like a stray dog. There was no mercy for him. 5 years of child abuse. A lifetime of hell on earth. My friend now is 26 years old, works in a decent place where he is beyond respected, his mother living with him, still single sadly, but he is now living a better life than what he had when he was a kid. He left the country where all of this happened with his mother and started working and studying, and now lives a more or less easier life, working as a vice principal in the nursery I work in despite his history. This happened in Tunisia a long time ago. We didn't have the whole televised horrors of society, but rather it was more or less a large section in the newspapers that people end up reading or seeing. Most of our TV stations, all 2 or 3 of them back then, were heavily regulated and monitored by the government when Ben Ali was in presidency, so it always either shows random Egyptian and Tunisian soap operas, or if it's news it's mostly good news, or political attacks against any opposing side that was against any opposition to Ben Ali or anyone that was under him. Newspapers on the other hand were practically free game. They post whatever they want freely, as long as they don't attack or offend any governmental bodies, president, cops unless it has to do with a dirty cop, and especially the president's wife for some reason. Internet was also a rarity, only a few had it and used it, and it was mostly used for business and communication between family members. Did you know that in the town I was born in they just recently discovered that there's a device called the Wii-U? They only thought that there was only a Wii and that's about it. Insane, right? As much as I'd love to find the newspaper with the story, I can't seem to find it anywhere online, and I doubt he'd have a copy of I either, but I will ask him and see if he has it. But I will definitely see if I can find it, because I personally wanna see what they've written on the subject. I doubt they'll say anything necessarily bad, but they'll definitely throw some shade subliminally and call it a day. Edit by Smizbeard, a gold medal. Thanks for all the support. He is both happy and surprised by all the support this is getting. Edit 2 by Shizbones, or 1000 updates. Edit 3 by the 9 Divine, a second gold medal. I'm running out of Skyrim jokes. Might have to ask Todd Harwood for more. Edit 4 by the Heart of Tamriel and the Doors of Sovngarde, a platinum medal. Stop, I yield. I'm literally out of Skyrim quotes. Edit 5 by Bye, I give up. Julianus has failed me in wisdom. I done ran out of Skyrim lines, but Mary sends her love to each and every one of you. Thanks for the silver. I think it's important to remember that there are different kinds of pedophiles. Many of them had violent sexual acts performed on them when they were kids, and it fucked up their head. The ones with no history of abuse have no excuse, but the pedophiles that got that way because they themselves were abused should go through rehabilitation in a mental institute instead of being tossed in jail, because there is a chance to help them. This asshole, however, doesn't seem to have the typical characteristics of a pedophile. That's the way they are because of childhood trauma. He's just a sick monster who deserved what he got. It amazes me every time that no matter what inmates were put in jail for, or if they're from rival gangs, the one thing that they all agree on is that a man never lay a hand on a defenseless child regardless if it is abuse or sexual. Inmates will make it clear to that monster that they are not welcomed in there. Even the guard/correction officers know this about the inmates in jail. Seriously, it's fucking wonderful. The punishment never ends for kid diddlers once they hit prison. In regards to your last line in particular, I've heard stories of guards turning the other way or walking straight out of the room if someone's about to ruin a child rapist's shit. Yeah. It really does amaze me that even the worst of the worst are still human. They may be fine with killing someone from a rival gang or something, but if someone lays hands on a child, they are teaming up and making that guy's life hell. Literally every physical form of revenge is illegal. That's not to say that it's not absolutely deserved. Let me find out anyone touched a child of mine, or for that matter any child or person who can't defend themselves, like that lady who was found pregnant 10 years after she was in a coma, and I can assure you I will be doing something illegal. If it's one of my kids, they'll never find the body. I know plenty of people with lots of land who raise pigs, and I know they wouldn't question a thing if it involved my child, or any child for that matter. Wow, I don't even think I would have the balls to do what those seniors did. I probably woulda just kicked his ass, but they took it a while another level. I'm not sure what I feel about that, but he definitely deserved it either way. Kudos to the seniors for putting their futures on the line just to save that kid though. That took balls of steel. Most today own their own repair shops and work honest living. Some even patrol the neighborhoods till this day looking out for everyone and making sure drunkards and drug dealers are taken care of. We need more people like this in the world. People that aren't afraid to stand up to offenders and 2-bit gangsters that think they are tough because they got a knife or a gun. Someday someone with a bigger gun will come, and there's nothing you can do about it. Sadly though, if he's put in a maximum security prison, he lines be put in seg. They do that to a lot of CHOMOs so that other prisoners don't kill them. At least from what I know. One thing a lot of people don't get is that a lot of prison stereotypes aren't true. Even in a maximum facility, a lot of prisoners are nice and respectful. And so there is an unspoken rule where, if the prisoner respects you, you respect them. I.e., don't tear their shit up when you do searches. I even know of a few prisoners where my dad and sister work who have actually fought off other prisoners who had tried to attack corrections officers, especially female co's. But if there is one prison stereotypes that holds up, it's that even murderers don't fuck around with child molesters. Better be careful not to piss off co's, because they will accidentally let slip that you're a child molester to a few inmate workers, and they will your shit up.